The government plans to introduce tough new measures to crack down on so-called cowboy cosmetic procedures that they say have left people maimed and injured and in need of urgent and costly NHS care.
Only qualified healthcare professionals will be able to perform the highest risk procedures, such as non-surgical Brazilian butt lifts, and clinics offering anti-wrinkle injections and fillers will need to be licensed and meet certain standards. And Juliet Dunlop is in a clinic in Carlisle for us this morning. Juliet, can you tell us more about the new rules and also when they will actually come into effect?
Yes, morning both. Well, first of all, in this clinic, only qualified medical practitioners carry out the procedures. But you're right, unfortunately, that is not the case everywhere. And many within the industry, as well as many doctors, well, they are deeply concerned about the growing number of rogue operators and the damage that they are doing. But these changes really are long overdue. So if we take a look in more detail then at what they will mean. So only qualified health workers who work for regulated providers will be able to deliver those high-risk procedures you referred to. Clinics offering Botox and fillers will have to obtain a licence by meeting certain standards, and under 18s, well, they will be restricted from high-risk procedures. All of this, of course, designed to protect people. Now, we've moved into one of the treatment rooms here in the clinic, and we're joined now by Dr. Paulina, who's doing some prep work on Lana this morning. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning.
And these changes really long overdue, but do they go far enough?
I don't think they go far enough at all. I think it should be just a black and white. Medics can perform procedure, non-medics cannot perform procedure. That's the reality. You have to draw a line.
People are taking risks, aren't they? And they're coming to you to have it corrected.
People are taking risk because they are none the wiser. And there is a correction going a lot, and it is increased. Botox or filler, they are needing corrected.
So people are coming to you for help more, and they're asking for more and more complicated procedures as well. So we'll allow you to carry on with Lana here this morning. But important to say that these changes, well, they only apply in England. The other devolved nations, Scotland certainly also working on tightening up the rules and the regulations there. But a sense this morning, certainly, that perhaps these rules do not go far enough at this stage, but broadly, certainly, long overdue and welcomed.
Well, Love Island star Faye Winter started getting fillers and anti-wrinkle injections in her early 20s. This is before she went on the hit show. In one case, she says it left her forehead paralysed. Now she says she regrets having so many procedures, including lip filler injections, that overfilled her lips, making them, well, as you can see, they're swollen and very painful. And she joins us now. Good morning. This was all pre-Love Island, wasn't it? But it came to a head, essentially, in the weeks before you went on Love Island, where just tell us about the sort of essentially the disaster that you were facing. You're about to be on this huge show where your face essentially and your body is everything. It's a Love Island show. What happened in those weeks and months before you went on?
Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. I wanted to look a certain way. I wanted to look the best version of myself, knowing that I was going on national television. And I went to somebody to do my Botox that I hadn't been to before. And he told me that he was medically trained. I believed him, as so many of us do. I later found out that he was a property developer and he had put too much Botox into my forehead, meaning my full forehead I had nothing in it. I couldn't move it. It was fully relaxed. It was paralysed. And I literally had to wait it out, not knowing if it was or wasn't going to come back.
Just to explain that, so just because when people say my forehead was paralysed, people often think that isn't that the point, that it doesn't move?
Yeah.
I don't know, you know, just explain why that's a problem.
Fair, yeah, probably the worst word to use, but my full forehead had relaxed, so I had no eyelids, my eyebrows literally was straight across my face.
So it all drooped?
It all completely drooped, yeah, so I had nothing.
And what about your mouth?
My mouth, well, to be fair, I think I had a bit of filler blindness, we like to call it. And so many of us get it.
What does that mean?
We just keep getting small bits added, and then all of a sudden you've got massive lips. But the person that was doing my lips, she didn't care. She was just taking my money, and they were so big, they were so overfilled, they had nothing, they had no shape. And she should have said stop. And as much as I've taken responsibility for that and said that I shouldn't have kept going back, at the same time, I do believe that everybody should be safeguarded. And there shouldn't have been the option to have it done so badly.
Before we get on to the surgery and the aftermath,
yeah.
Just for me to understand, I mean, you are so beautiful. And you were so beautiful before you had any of the work.
Thank you.
And when you look back now, I mean, do you think it was the right thing to have the work done? Because you so didn't need it. You're fabulous.
Well, honesty is the best policy, and I do still have work done now to this day. It's just done completely differently, and it's done by somebody that is qualified. So I've always had massive teeth. They're my natural teeth, which a lot of people don't believe me for, but I've always had naturally very small lips. So for me, it was an insecurity, and I always say if people have insecurities, they should be able to go and get work done to make them the most confident version of themselves.
Obviously, the government is now consulting on making the rules tighter. I mean, we say tighter. It's been a wild west out there. It seems that sort of anybody could really just go... And lots of people are getting in touch. Say it's a 1 or 2 day course, people think, and then you can just put a little certificate on the wall and say you're qualified, and actually have no idea about the damage that you could cause. What do you think about these new regulations, and how far do you think they should go to protect?
I think, obviously, it's a massive step in the right direction. This is something for 4 years that I've been speaking about. So for the government to even acknowledge it is amazing. But there's also parts of it that I do think where they say, you know, licences, what are they going to look like? Does somebody just need a passport number and a UK address and they still get a licence? We don't know what that quite looks like yet. And I think it's really important that we know those finer details.
Would you like it to be just medically trained people? So only people who have been to university for nursing or dentistry or medicine can only do it? Or do you think that's too limited? I mean, that would obviously increase the cost, and the cost is one of the main reasons people go to people on the high street who are not hugely qualified.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it's more expensive because you've got to deal with it. So I would say, yes, for me, it was always that it should be somebody that's medically trained from a medical background. You wouldn't go to anybody to have any other kind of works done, so why would you go and have a needle and put in your face from some hospitality?
Although people are, I mean, this is a global, multi-billion industry. People are travelling outside of our country to countries around the world because it's cheaper. Is there a danger if we, I know you had your work done in the UK, if we make the UK work better regulated by a medical practitioner, in the end, more expensive, is there a danger? Could your 20-something self have thought, well, in that case, maybe I'll go to Turkey?
I think by the time you buy a flight to Turkey, regardless of having it done by a medical professional, it's not that much more expensive. And actually, when you look at things in the grand scheme of it, it lasts longer usually, they know what they're doing more, you get a better outcome, so you're not wanting to go and get more work done. For me, it's actually worked out more cost-effective to have it done by somebody
So what would you say to people who are thinking of going abroad for treatment?
I just don't think that people would really be thinking that at the minute because they can get it done so cheaply here, unless it's for the bigger procedures. When I actually don't think the NHS, we should be covering it when people come back.
Yeah, that's one of the big points, that lots of viewers this morning are saying. Look, if you do, in the interim period, of course, at some point these laws will change and who knows what that'll do to the high street cosmetic industry. But in the interim period, from now, if you go to an unregulated person because it's cheaper or whatever, then if it goes wrong, whether here or abroad, you'll have to foot the cost of the... It can be up to £15,000 to correct it on the NHS. Do you think that would be the right way to go for the government, to say, at your own risk, at your own peril, go ahead, but if it goes wrong, the NHS will not be paying for you to be corrected?
Absolutely. I don't think that we, as taxpayers, should be paying for that. I never asked anybody to pay for my correction work, and that was on me, and I had to learn the hard way. And I do think, unfortunately, it is something that we should be looking into.
That is a really tough message, though. If somebody has a crash driving a car, even if it's their fault, if they are broken and disfigured, the NHS helps them out. If somebody makes a silly mistake, goes to the wrong place, have something which is disfiguring in their face, but they can't afford to have it sorted out. Is the NHS not there to help people out, even if we've made mistakes?
But a crash is an accident. It's a you know, that's you're signing yourself up for with massive risks to go abroad, and we've seen that. We know the risks. We've heard about it. If you know the risks were so high driving your car, I'm sure a lot more people wouldn't drive their car, but the risk to driving it and crashing is lower.
Very interesting.
Now, Health Secretary Karen Smith joins us now. A very good morning to you. The Brazilian butt lifts are obviously one of those things that has had so many headlines because they have led to a lot of very serious complications that the NHS has then had to correct. But there's also the other side of it, which I think is probably more widespread, which is the Botox, the fillers, the anti-wrinkle, which is the injections that sort of can happen willy-nilly up and down the high street. And just tell us exactly what it is you're wanting to do to crack down on those sort of very easily available and sometimes very poorly administered injections in the face.
Well, you're exactly right. They are easily available and some of them are very poor. This is an industry that has grown really rapidly in the last few years. It used to be the preserver of A-list celebrities and now is really very accessible and very popular. And it's also a really good business, mainly run by women, some of them sole traders, and mainly used by women. So things do go wrong, though. I'm speaking to you from Southmead Hospital, where the NHS often has to deal with the consequences, not just of the Brazilian butt lift stuff, but as you say, some of the fillers and the disfigurement that causes. So there's been a consultation that started under the last government, and we are saying today that we are going to act in this area. We're going to take action to get rid of the cowboys, to regulate this so that the industry can continue to grow, but it has to be safe, and that consumers know it's safe, and so particularly for under 18s as well. So that's what we're doing.
So local licensing for those on the high street administered by the local authority. What do you have to do? You have to set certain minimum standards. What kind of courses would people have to go on? What kind of certification, for example, would somebody need to look for and check that it was real in the window of one of these shops?
That's exactly what we need to move to. It is a really complicated area. It's complex in terms of the sort of level of those different procedures, and that's changing all the time. They're adding new ones the whole time. And so getting that training right, getting that accredited correctly, and then being very clear with the consumer what that means. That's exactly what we now need to move to as part of developing the regulations.
And so
it will take some time. It is complex.
Yeah, as you say, it is complex. One of the sorts of areas that could just be black and white in the way that you are doing with Brazilian butt lifts, which I think is probably a slightly smaller market, but the consequences can be much more serious, is that it has to be somebody who is medically qualified. Why can't the government go that far to say, if you're doing anything injectable in somebody's face, you have to have had nursing, medical or dentistry background?
Well, that is what we will need to talk to the industry about in detail, depending on the actual procedures. So in that red list, in the consultation for people who want to look in more detail, they're categorised as red, amber, green. And in that red list, there is more than just the procedure you outlined that requires a higher level of clinical expertise. The amber and the green areas, they're more movable and they are varied, and there are some of those that do require more clinical training. The level of that clinical training is something that will have to be agreed, that we will have to work with professionals on. But this is a big employer as well, so it's right to get that balance between an industry that is supporting the local economy and is giving those jobs, as I said, mainly to women, and making sure that that is clinically safe. So those are exactly the detailed conversations we need to. We've already started, but we need to bottom out in the next few months as we bring forward these regulations. And that will come through Parliament as well, because it will need to go through Parliament.
OK, and just briefly before we move on, legislation on this issue, regardless of how complex it is, will come in when? I mean, how quickly will this come in?
I can't put a date on that at the moment because we want to get the red list area with the Care Quality Commission, who regulate premises with us. That's the priority. And then working through the amber and the green list, and as I say, working through with local authorities on the licences.
The Care Quality Commission, though, has been criticised. The Care Quality Commission has been criticised for not being necessarily fit for purpose, so people will be confused as to why you're relying on them in this instance.
because they have had to come through a difficult period. We believe that that is being turned round now, and they are the right body. They regulate medical premises across the country, so we want to work with them to develop this. They are the right people to do that with us.